Good morning. So I see that there are tons of comments regarding the last videos. Sometimes it's difficult for me to like predict. What videos will be. More exciting. I guess it's like that for probably all, like as they say in the modern terminology, which is abomination, but I use it anyway. Content makers. But because not because first of all, from my perspective, everything that I say is interesting. So it reminds me that you know that Gerard Martin, the author of the Song of Ice and Fire books. So he's quite old actually, and long before he started this book series, which is old. By now it's as well. It's got some record behind it, but long before that, he was a prolific writer. Both of novels and also screen plays, mostly for TV. He had a lot of background in the I would call fantasy industry in the broadest term, and he had a blog and but it was but it wasn't famous. He was like a person of the industry and a writer, but not famous. And of course not like nearly as famous as he is now, like after Song of Ice and Fire. So in one interview, the interviewer asked him they asked him after all these years that you were a writer, both with novels and screenplays and you have so much things that you've done, but were not particularly successful. And now you wrote Game of Thrones and and it's and the other books in the series, and they are so successful. So what happened now that that you suddenly how is it? What happens that now you're suddenly so successful and you write such amazing material? So I kind of liked his answer. He said, I don't know. Everything that I wrote was good. It was all good. I always write. For decades I write good stuff. It's just you people just started to read the Song of Ice and Fire, but the other things that I've written before that were also good. So yes, sometimes you cannot judge your own, whatever you do. Because from your perspective, everything is interesting. But some things are catch more attention than other. I do understand the importance of watching nanobots and biological life forms together, and this was actually one of my first concerns. But I think that for some reason that is probably related to technology and the Nazis in Israel that are blocking communication and messing with my iPhone and my accounts. It's obvious that many videos were not available to everyone throughout all this period of time since January, since I started experiments, because of course it was obvious to me from the start that this is a very interesting issue, is to see to see to see the nanobots and biological microbes interact. But this was accomplished long ago. Actually, what we've seen in the first videos that were taken during January is even more interesting in a way, because we've seen. I think you can't say what's more interesting, because everybody finds other stuff interesting, but we've seen big Niros, even huge Niros that that are presumably dining on like living viruses or very small germs. And this is actually very interesting to see. And if you have access to this video from January, I strongly suggest to watch it because it's incredibly interesting. And also, several of these videos were taken, I mean, just after the slides were taken out of the freezer. And they're almost completely frozen. And it's a question of how exactly are these like germs even move? Like what's happening? I mean, they shouldn't be moving like when taken out of the freezer immediately. So there are many open questions with regards to the interaction between biological life form and Niros that were presented this January. And I mean, I don't have like a freezer that I can freely use. I mean, without like people trying to kill me. But I mean, if you have access to these videos, really watch those videos because they are very interesting, and you see interaction between smaller life forms and like big Niros, and there are several like very interesting questions that are raised in those videos that I mean I still don't have answers to. But yes, of course I understand the importance of documenting such interactions. And as I said, even after those videos, like the initial videos, I tried to reproduce it like in larger extent by creating colonies in my mother's apartment, but I mean they were just not developed yet. I mean but there are still several videos from like I think maybe February or March where you can actually see like more like interaction between the Niros and the life forms, but not to such an extent as we've seen yesterday, because this is just a huge colony, like a huge, like an ocean of germs and bacteria and Niros. So I'll take more of those samples today, and we'll see. I mean, if maybe we can actually watch new stuff, because I mean, who knows? Now I wanted to continue what we have spoken about yesterday. I wanted to elaborate. Like I thought about it, and I have like a new, I would say, like a program for research, and it's only like a main drawback is that it could be very beneficial for humans, and that's like something that I want to avoid. But I mean, it's interesting, and I also I like to entertain myself, as you know. I mean, most of what I do is like for the purpose of entertaining myself. I'm in a rest, and I don't have stuff to do. I mean, I don't have books, and I don't I mean, I find it difficult to watch like quality stuff on television. So the science stuff is mostly entertainment from my perspective, and I know that it's like theoretically it has like huge implication and meaning meaning for humanity, but this is nothing new. I mean, everything that relates to me has like huge implication. I represent an alien civilization that is far superior to you. I mean, the fact that you don't I mean, you cannot grasp this simple fact, and the incredibly important implication is because I mean you're either Nazis or stupid as fuck. So yes, it's of course it's got huge implications. So as I said, I mean, regarding science, what I've spoken about yesterday. So I have a new I would say program. It's not the most urgent, but maybe I'll go along these lines. As you know, there are many things that I would like to research. I have to do research, and I'm doing things on parallel because there is so much stuff that you can do, and my energies are limited. And I mean, I really need to fight very hard. The lethargic tendencies that actually are common in jails and prisons, in arrest houses. And it's especially, I mean, I'm prone to that, especially because I feel so much disappointment and just, I just feel lack of care with regards to society and everyone on earth. So let's get back to science. So yeah, I mean, when I hypothesized like about situation like like this container that we've taken samples from initially like a couple of months ago, I've said some like manifestly wrong, but also misguided like it's a theory like or assumption that I laid down that that this kind of situation cannot exist. That it's impossible probably for like in a closed container for large number of Niros and large and relatively large number of organisms to biological organisms to coexist, because they will fight. They will fight each other for certain, and one side will have the upper hand. So either all the Niros will kill the life form or the other way around, and this was manifestly false. But just okay, by evidence. But so I try to think, but I try to think about like what was the origin of this manifestly false assumption, and like what can we actually learn from it. Or so I would say that the root cause of this error is the fact that I'm not used at all to to the kind of thinking that is common and required for people that are dealing with life sciences, like biology and other life sciences. I'm too much inclined to thinking more like people that are that have backgrounds in mathematics and computer science. So kind of I assume that naturally from a mathematic perspective, that the amount of of microbes and the respective amount of bots is kind of how do you say two like a sum of a series, which is a sum of a series, two Taylor Taylor, the famous Taylor sums, two, it's a series of sums of series. And the assumption, my assumption that the power the power relation, the power the difference in power between those two life forms, the biological one and the nanobots, is like the coefficient that will determine what sum will converge to zero, and respectively what sum will converge to will not converge, will go to infinity. And of course, that theoretically, from a mathematics perspective, there is some kind of a coefficient or a coefficient range that will allow both sums to be larger than zero for a long time, and a month is quite long from that perspective, because both can multiply pretty quickly. But my assumption from which relies on computer science, on someone that is used to computer science, is that probably the range is narrow, is the range of coefficients is narrow. It's pretty narrow, and from probabilistic reasons, it makes sense that the power difference between those two creatures would be such that it will not fall within this narrow range. So it will fall somewhere within the out of this range, which means that pretty quickly either one of the populations will converge to zero, and the other will converge to will go to infinity. But this is really, this is manifest. It's a mistake that that lies on too much of person that all his professional career, he was in the computer, in programming and engineering, in software engineering, in computer sciences. Because any person that is come from the life sciences, or just even someone that just is used to watching the world around him like a hobbyist, natural someone that is interested in zoology or like ecology could have like very simply, I mean, contradict this assumption by just looking around, because what contradicts this assumption more than just looking around you? Like, I mean, almost every ecosystem that you can think about contains like warring, like fighting, like creatures, and they all have like power differences. And natural, and yeah, sometimes one species, I mean, causes the extinction of another species, and actually it's quite common. I mean, extinctions take place like all the time, not only because of humans or because of like huge asteroids. I mean, extinctions are like part of life. Like, I mean, like there's like infinite, not infinite, but I mean astronomical number of species that were extinct. Like on Earth, but its extinction is not like, I mean, the immediate fate of every species, because yeah, I mean, every ecosystem, not only the entire Earth, but I mean, even like secluded or like isolated ecosystems, many times they contain tons of species. And this is actually even true of when we speak about like artificially isolated ecosystem. Like, I mean, you can start a terrarium with and just close it entirely, like seal it, and just put inside like whatever, like, I mean, water and like biological material and food and like air supply. And I mean, many such terrarium, I mean, depends on the starting condition, will I mean, even if you come back like after like 10 years or so, they will still be full of life and all sorts of species. And yes, there will be wars, but I mean, manifestedly, I mean, the sums will not converge to zero. I mean, not all of it. So just by looking around us, we can see that the assumption that the coefficient, the power, difference that defines the coefficient that determine like whether the sum will converge to zero or go to infinity, or maybe, I mean, not that. Maybe they just, I mean, they will live together and like always be in fight. We can see that, I mean, many times it's the sales options. I mean, so the conflicting species just live together and they fight each other, presumably like for eternity, if like there is no other like environmental change, or maybe not for eternity, but I mean for quite some time. I mean, maybe like after like a year or 2 years or 10 years. I mean, yeah, I mean, either the Niros or the bacteria will have the upper end, but it's not necessarily something that immediately takes place, or even not after a month, which is a long time with regards to the time that it takes for those creatures to multiply. So, having said that, I mean, the next question now that is of interest is what is actually needed for the Niros to get the upper hand. And this is a question that is actually of, as I said, the problem with this question is that it could be very beneficial for humans, and this is something that I don't like, because I have no such interest. But it's an interesting question from both like the natural sciences perspective and from like mathematical perspective, and also from engineering perspective. It's an interesting question from many perspectives. I would say that, I mean, it's kind of like potentially very beneficial for humans, of course, for the purpose of disease control. Like, what do you need in order to eliminate like disease in like in biological like unhealthy organism? And this question directly relates to this question, but it's also very interesting for many like perspective, like from engineering perspective, as I said, and mathematical perspective, and like from the natural sciences, like what is actually needed. For example, if we now take like, if I now take like maybe a cup or like half a cup of this material and put it like in like a different container, and now I an isolated container, like I take like with like airtight, and I also add like a good like amount of the mixture that I prepared like in the last couple of days, which contains no life forms at all, and quite a bit of Niros, like the ones from the electrolysis chamber. And I'll do it, I mean, just, I mean, to give the Niros, like, I mean, like a starting good advantage. So, I mean, what happens now? I mean, how long will it take the Neros to actually eliminate life forms in a way that if we take a sample, we'll see no germs at all. Like we don't see no germs at all, or like no microbes at all when we take samples from the electrolysis chamber. So how long will it take to actually for that to happen? Now the next question could be, what happened if you subject the new like sample, the new like mixture to that contains like both like the mixture from the electrolysis chamber and the mixture from the ocean, from the aquarium, which is full of life. So we start electrolysis now. So, but we do it. I mean, we don't use like a strong enough power source in order to kill all life in it, but certainly enough for the Neros to energize. And now, so now we take like a sample just after the electrolysis stops, or in the middle of it, we'll see what's going on, and then I mean, if presumably they will not kill, I mean, before they kill all life, we'll stop the electrolysis, and then we'll wait and see like how long does it take them to, after that, like after they were energized, to actually kill all life even without electrolysis. These kind of like experiments will tell us, I mean, what kind of like energizing properties, I mean, are needed from the Neros in order to not only like create stuff, which is the things that I was only like occupied with until now, but also to kill stuff. Because I mean, actually I haven't proved it. But this kind of, but it seems to me like a common sense. But such experiments will also prove it, this as well, and this is also a benefit for such a line of research. That I mean, that energizing the Neros with electricity would not only help them like to create stuff, as it was manifested many times like until now, but also it will actually help them like to become like a roided up like a juiced killing machines, which should be, I mean, it sounds like funny or like, I mean, fantastic, but it's actually it's probably the reasonable thing that will happen. Like, I mean, I would say that this, I mean, yeah, it sounds funny. Like, I mean, to take like a robot and to like energize them, like power, like in a video game, you power up, and then there would be like, I mean, Mega Mans, like small Mega Mans from the Nintendo series, like that will kill like everything around them, like in frenzied manner. But even though it sounds funny, I would say that this is the reasonable outcome. Like, I would say that it's, I mean, it's so reasonable that I actually think that I take it almost for granted. But yes, it could be very beneficial to actually prove it, like with a line of like research, like, I mean, experiments, like I've said, like I've outlined now, like to actually prove that I mean, that by energizing the Neros, I mean, they can do the killing, like the killing job much more efficiently. And again, I think that it's almost, I take it almost for granted, but yeah, it's like the more I think about it, like the more I speak about it, I understand that, I mean, even though I take it for granted, it's, I mean, something that should be proved, and such research, such experiments could be able to actually prove it. So yeah, very interesting, and a lot of things to do. I just need I myself need to be energized. You have no idea how much I hate this state, like Israel. How much I really hate not only the state but the people. Like, this is a disgusting state, and I will say that again in the 100th time. The people abroad are the culprits. I mean, you created this state because you sent all the garbage to Israel, like, and you did it like with full knowledge, and you should have known like what will be the outcome. Like, what happens when you take all the garbage people like and throw them in one garbage like trash can? I mean, it's it doesn't take a genius to predict that they will. I mean, that will be like a trash can with full of trash, and that it will like behave like in accordance to the nature of the people. So I mean, this is the fault of the world. Like I mean, this atrocity is the blame of like of the entire earth. And of course, I mean, the stronger the nations, I mean, the stronger the blame. And first of all, the United States are I mean, their crimes are unforgivable. Like you cannot forgive like the fact that I mean they managed this place for so long, and they contribute so heavily to the fact that this is a trash can that is like full of trash that behaves in such horrible way to not only to the foreigners but to everyone that I mean they just can put their hands on.